So let's talk about our court system now at the moment. And the court rules have recently been amended to permit electronic services of litigation documents in a bid to reduce stolen and lost court documents. In 2014, Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng called for the introduction of the implementation of the electronic court filing system. This system minimises time and costs. So let's just take this conversation forward. And in studio with us, we've got Bruce Henderson. He's the Managing Director of Litigator, to tell us a little bit more about the implementation of the system. Good to have you in studio. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much.
Now, tell us a little bit more about how an electronic filing system actually works.
So all it would do is it's a very simple method. Traditionally, what would have to happen is that attorneys generally take litigation documents down to court, have them stamped, and they'll be placed in a court file. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, that results in massive amounts of documents and files having to be stored. And that opens up the way to files going missing or being stolen, which is a major problem and creates a lot of additional legal costs. What an electronic court filing system would do to simply allow an attorney wanting to file that document to send it via many different methods to a central court filing system, where it would be stamped electronically and then recorded electronically. Yeah. And that original would then be sitting in a web-based or cloud-based type system where it can be accessed whenever it is needed to be accessed.
So, you know, in terms of when we talk about costs, because I think that's a concern,
yes.
but is it a concern? Because, I mean, I think from what I'm hearing is that initially there'll be costs, but then it actually turns into a cost-saving system.
Yes, 100%. And, I mean, you're 100% right. The costs initially, they will be there, and all credit to the Chief Justice. About 12 months ago, there was a tender released calling for an electronic court filing system to be implemented, and a number of bids were submitted. I'm not sure exactly where we are in that stage at the moment, but the benefits will far outweigh the initial costs. And one must recall that the costs involved in storing hard copy paper documents are massive. You actually need physical space, whereas in electronic format, those files can be compressed and archived, and electronic storage nowadays is extremely cheap.
Give us a little glimpse into, I mean, you know, papers in courts and documents and evidence and all of these things. Is it kept for life? I mean, the physical hard copy, is it ever destroyed? Does a case ever sort of come to conclusion? Or, I mean, how long do you have to keep the documents for?
There is a time period in which those documents are kept in archives. And I'm not 100% sure how often those documents are destroyed after that time period lapses. But it is a real problem.
Yeah, and I mean, I can only imagine how much space you need to store all of these documents for court cases. So when it comes to, you know, these documents being stolen, and I know that our Chief Justice has highlighted that as a huge problem, how will this assist? I mean, if the documents are now kept electronically, obviously that's going to help in the theft of the documents.
100%. And look, the theft of the documents is a concern because generally the original documents are taken.
Yeah.
And they can be by a number of unscrupulous measures, or they can be innocently misplaced. So what an electronic system will do is, when they are submitted electronically, that digital original will be kept on file. Now, there are a number of ways in order to track and trace these documents. And one of the methods which we utilize is an advanced electronic signature method. So any person who would have access to that document would have to apply their advanced electronic signature to that document. That advanced electronic signature does a couple of things. First of all, it applies a track and trace. So if you click on that signature on that digital document at any given time, the person who applied that signature, the date and the time at which they applied that signature will be there for the person to view, and the verification of that document is then available. Another great thing about it is that it wraps that document. So what a lot of people don't realize about litigation documents is that they actually sit in the public domain. Well, I would say the majority, 99% of them, sit in the public domain. So it means you as a journalist could go and access those documents at any given time.
Yeah.
Now, there are security issues around that, but the main thing is protecting the integrity of that document. Litigation documents, although they're in the public domain, you want the integrity of that document to be maintained. And that's what these security devices, such as an advanced electronic signature, offer.
Well, what documents wouldn't sit in the public domain?
I suppose they're very sensitive litigation cases which might involve children, where they don't want to disclose the names of those children. those sort of litigation documents, I would suggest, would be ring-fenced, and they would be kept in a much higher security type database.
You know, my concern, gosh, I mean, I imagine it'll bring it down substantially, but of course there are these guys out there that are much cleverer than you and I and any other computer system that can hack into anything, hack into it and destroy that document. Now, talk to me about the likelihood of that. I mean, it happens to banks that have got the best protection in the world, and yet it still happens.
100%. The security measures involved would have to be substantial.
Yeah.
And even with those substantial security measures, it doesn't mean that a hacker couldn't get in and possibly try amend a document or try recreate a document. The point is that the way it currently works now is that it doesn't stop a person walking through the front door of a court, uplifting a court file and taking documents out of those court files and disappearing with them.
Yeah.
So that's not to say that we are getting away with 100% of the risks involved. What it's saying is that I think we can mitigate against most of the risks of those documents being amended or stolen. And the nice thing about digital documents is that they can be reproduced and stored in numerous places. So you would always have a backup should one of the documents or the digitals be taken.
Yeah, which is something that we don't have at the moment.
Correct.
How bad is the situation when it comes to documents and dockets being stolen from courts?
Look, I think it is a major concern. And, you know, we don't want to pass judgment on course administrative staff and that they've got a really tough job. But the number of people going in and out court on a daily basis that are walking past court files, that have access to the court files, that are willing to pay money in some occasions to get a court file is a real concern. And I mean, the stats that I've heard is that in some courts, 5 to 6 out of every 10 documents go missing.
Wow.
Now, even some of the Pretoria magistrates courts, for instance, don't even keep the originals at court. They give them back to the attorneys and say they'll probably be better kept in your hands.
Yeah, well, that's reason enough to go the electronic way. But we're still a while off, aren't we? You say there's still tenders out, and then, of course, once that's chosen, at least a year. So, I mean, we're way off.
Possibly. I wouldn't say way off, and what the Chief Justice has done, which all credit to him, is he's actually taken the initiative to make a noise about it and take the steps towards it.
Listen, it's been interesting. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you very, very much
Pleasure.
for talking to us here on the programme. Bruce Henderson is the Managing Director of Litigator, talking to us about electronic court documents, hopefully going that route very, very soon. Our Chief Justice has spoken about that. He spoke about it in 2014, so we really are hoping that it'll happen to eliminate these files just going missing. All right, let's take a break here on the programme. More after this. Stay tuned.